last time you had a 330-pound tackle as a slot receiver?
It's probably the first time. He did a nice job. The nickel was kind of surprised the first play of the game. He was like, what are you doing out here? But it's been cool. George has done a great job. Obviously, we're looking at some of the things that we want to do with him. He's a smart kid. He loves it, and it just gives us an added advantage.
With Russell, the game that he had, finishing with a perfect passer rating, just what went into that, in your opinion?
Clean execution. Guys made a lot of plays. Protection was really good. 17 passes. That helps. I think when you watch the overall game, some of the plays like Ed Dixon made was really an amazing catch in the end zone. David Moore's catch that we had to review to get back. So those guys made a lot of great plays. The thing that Russ does an awesome job of, he kind of puts the ball in a spot where those guys can go and get it. They can go fight for it. And they've proven time and time again that they'll go up and make those plays, which in turn gives him confidence to throw those balls.
On Fant, have you used him more than maybe you originally expected just by seeing what he can do blocking-wise?
I think each week's been different, but I'd say it's about what we kind of projected.
What's he bring you? Obviously size and blocking a bit. What's he actually done though in that role?
Physical, really good run blocker. Really actually runs really well. He really ran a great over route on one of the nakeds that we ran. I think it was Nick got tangled up a little bit on the release, I think, and George came flying over there and almost knocked Nick over. So he adds a lot of things. He's just a pro. He's a terrific young man. It's important to him. He loves it. He's out here getting reps at tackle. He's out here playing tight end, working a little slot receiver. So I'm happy for him and proud of him.
The variety of stuff you guys have been able to do up front the last couple of weeks, from going unbalanced with Dwayne on the right side to George being in there as an extra tight end to having Dwayne and JR pull around. How much does that speak to the confidence you guys have in that group right now as a whole? You feel like you can go to that whole toolbox and you pull out all those things?
Well, I think it's a couple things. I think obviously they're a veteran group. They're very bright. You can't do all those things unless they're bright. They're interchangeable, the parts. But certainly it speaks to how we feel about them, their ability to grasp those things. I mean, the play we ran where we were pulling both those guys, that was kind of a game plan specific thing that we saw some teams had run against Detroit. We looked at it, said it fits our personnel. We put it in, they kind of grasped it over the course of the week, and we were able to run it fairly well. So it definitely speaks to how we feel about those guys. It definitely speaks to their intelligence. They just eat up football, and I think Mike does an awesome job with them, and those guys are just they're true pros.
Is David Moore an example of a receiver who plays bigger than he actually is?
Stronger, maybe, is the better word. He certainly, we gave him a hard time the first third down conversion. He kind of caught it and he held it out here. We gave him a hard time like he thinks he's arrived. But he's got tremendously strong hands. He's just a strong-bodied guy that's able to fight for contested balls and has made some terrific catches. He's just a really good player. I think that's one of the things that you've seen over the past couple weeks is just how much Russ trusts him. When he's one-on-one, I'll go to him. When he's running a shallow cross, I'll go to him. And he's easy to find for us because he feels bigger. So to answer your question, thinking about it a little bit more, he feels bigger than maybe his size numbers would say.
When you face a team, whether it's like a safety or a linebacker, when they have that guy, they just move all over the place like the Chargers do with James. Just what's kind of the challenge of a guy you don't know where he's going to be on any given play?
It's hard. It's difficult. We're certainly always looking for a couple of those guys. They're a good defense, whether it's Ingram or James or Perryman. They're interchangeable. They slide them around, so we just kind of keep our eyes on them. We're tracking them, but they do a nice job. They put him in all kinds of different spots. I think he looks very, very comfortable now in those roles. Talking about James, very, very good blitzer. When they bring him on pressures, he's a really big, strong, physical guy that comes hard and plays to the whistle. So it's a challenge, but one that we think that we feel good about with our backs and our tight ends and picking up some of those things.
With David, was there anything that kind of made you go, okay, we need to get this guy some more chances, some more opportunities over what he was doing up until?
Yeah, I think after the first two games when we kind of had the facelift, it was one of those deals where we had seen it throughout training camp. We had seen it throughout preseason. I think we all really took notice the Minnesota game. It wasn't just offense. He ran the punt back for the touchdown. It's kind of like, wow, it's pretty explosive. That's actually one of the things that probably hasn't shown up yet is how dynamic he can be with the ball in his hand. That was one of those deals, and of course when we kind of switched the mentality a little bit, it was okay, well, run the ball well, going to mix some shots in there, get guys one-on-one, and he just deserved those opportunities. So we did it. He maximized those, and therefore has earned more of them.
The success that you found in the red zone, what do you attribute that to?
We're running the ball really well. We have guys that can win the one-on-one matchups. The coverages you're going to see down in the red zone are limited. There's only so much space that you'll see certain coverages. Most teams will carry 2 or 3 things max. It starts probably with the running game, and then, of course, I go back to Russell's ability to improvise, whether it's the Oakland game where we drop the snap and things like that. But, again, when the ball's up in the air, you see guys going up and making plays. And then, again, like Chris's run. I mean, you look at the touchdown run Chris had late, I think the 28th point or whatever it was, really good cutback, great movement up front. But there was truly Gerard Davis and the safety, Diggs, I think, were both standing right there. And Chris just lowered his pads and kind of pushed his way in there. And that's what those backs have done for us, is when there's free hitters, which there's going to be, they've been able to kind of run over those guys and move those guys. So it starts with the run game, then it goes obviously to Russ, and then our ability to win in man-to-man situations.
Tyler mentioned when you got here, you anticipated you got a better feel for the offense with your dad versus you and your dad. Have you seen any of that manifest?
No, I wouldn't think so. I think obviously Tyler and I have a great relationship. He's a awesome young man, terrific player. I remember I was more of a ball boy at first, and then got into coaching with Kevin, his father, and remember him. He was a terrific slot receiver. I don't know how many years Kevin played, but he was really a good slot receiver. They remind me a lot of each other. They both love the game. I think I've told you guys, Tyler's always come to me with ideas. And it's weird because most of the guys that give you ideas, they're plays for themselves, and for him they're not for him unless it's playing quarterback, because he's still bound and determined. So maybe we'll throw that in there next. But he's just a terrific young man. I really respect Kevin, his father, and have not had a chance to see Kevin yet, but it sounds like Tyler said he's going to come to one of these next couple games.
These like plays scribbled out on a piece of paper.
Oh yeah, he's pretty organized. Yeah, he brings them, and they're labeled. Sometimes the formations are a little askew, if you will, and you're kind of like, well, what's that? But he's always thinking the game. He loves it, and I enjoy watching him interact with the other guys, because he really does have good instincts, which shows you why he's able to kind of feel the game and get open and make plays when Russ improvises.
In the locker room in Detroit after the game, Doug Baldwin talked at length about how he believes in the run first. He's seen it over time here and in Stanford and even back to his high school days. How rare is that for an NFL number 1 receiver to be bought into the run? He'll still pipe up if he's not getting the ball
Sure.
first, but is that rare for a number 1 in the Diva League to embrace that?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question that I'll think before I answer. The answer to the question is probably yes. If you look around the league, most number 1 receivers, it's about catches, attempts, things like that. I think Doug is a competitor that wants to win, and he sees the success that we're having right now. The game plan wasn't to go into Detroit and throw it 17 times. That wasn't the game plan. But the way we were running it, some of the success we were having, we got the lead, obviously. We're able to kind of hold them off for a little bit, and you kind of go with the flow. But for him to say that, it shows you, number 1, that yes, he's been around a program like Stanford that had success running the ball. Obviously, when they were here, Super Bowl years, there was a lot of success running the football, but it shows you he wants to win. And I think that's cool. I think that's really cool that Doug feels that way. There's going to be other times when the competitor in him is going to come out, and we'll have some dialogue. Yeah, we'll have some dialogue on the sideline. Yeah, and it'll be like, okay, well, yeah, that's good. Hey, you remember that time you said? But that hasn't happened yet. He's a terrific guy.
What's the benefit of giving Russell so much pre-snap kind of freedom?
He deserves it. He's earned it. He does a terrific job of getting us in and out of, good plays, bad plays, saving situations that maybe don't work. It just shows the trust that we as a staff, myself, independently, have felt with him over the last couple weeks. He works unbelievably hard. People probably don't realize how many hours he puts into it. The write-ups and stuff that he sends us as a staff is really pretty cool. I won't go into it, but I've never been around some pretty good quarterbacks. I've never been around a guy that's put that much work and preparation into it. It's pretty cool.
What stands out to you about Phillip?
Phillip Rivers, terrific player. was around him for his first couple years. Field vision is probably unlike any I've ever been around. I don't know whether it's the size that helps him, but just his ability to see the whole field is crazy. A cute story about Philip, he'll probably remember it, but we coached them in the Senior Bowl when we were with the Chargers. We went 4-12 and went down to the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, and we had that staff. We actually had a good group. We had Rivers, Schaub, and somebody else. J.P. Losman were the quarterbacks. And we went out for that first practice, and he was warming up, and I was like, "Jeez, what is this guy? He's got this herky-jerky motion." I'm like, man. So then the very first competitive drill we had, it was like, poof, poof, ball was coming out, and you're like, where'd that come from? I think when you watch him and he plays, his mind processes things so fast, and his arm responds. Terrific player, awesome competitor. One of the biggest trash talkers I've ever been around in anything, whether it's cards, football, basketball. A tremendous competitor.
One more on the freedom at the line of scrimmage. Pete Carroll, I think he said that's something that you've traditionally, the quarterbacks you've worked with, you've always given them a lot of freedom. Why is that?
They see it better than we do. They see it different than we do. You'd be amazed how many things that go on, whether it's in the huddle or at the line of scrimmage, that we have no idea. I mean, you got to remember, we're over here, and they're out there in between the numbers. And so if you have the ability to do that, I can't call the perfect play. There's no perfect play. He has a much better job, or quarterbacks have a much better job to get you into the best play than I do. For me, I'm guessing. Yeah, I think they're going to do this, so let's do that. He's got the ability to actually get out there, see what they're doing, and say, okay, I know this works well. Now, there's a lot of time and preparation that goes into, hey, we like this versus this front and this coverage, but he's always going to have a better opportunity to get us into a better play than I am from a random standpoint. So that's the benefit of it. But again, they have to work at it. They have to take pride in doing it the right way, which he certainly does.
How vital also is his decision-making and the zone read stuff that he's doing?
Terrific. We don't always agree on every decision that he makes, but he's normally right, and if he's not right, he makes it right. The decision last week to pull it on, was it 42, early in the game, it was like, he made it work. He kind of ducked back inside and then ducked around the edge, so we trust him. He has an uncanny ability of making it either right because he made the right decision, and when he doesn't make it right, or he doesn't make the right decision, maybe he makes it right so he doesn't get yelled at.
Do you think he needs to run more to make defenses keep them more honest?
No, I don't think so. I think that's going to come. I think we're not worried about it. We don't sit there and think, hey, you got to rush for 50 yards. Our rushing game's going pretty well right now without him. But when the time's right, when things break down or he has to make a play or a week comes about that we feel good about maybe doing some of that stuff, he won't have any problem doing it. Cool.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, guys.